my favorite thing about the movie is like it feels like a movie. It feels like a real like, go to the theater film movie that, you kind of the reason why you go to watch something on the big screen.
Hello, everyone. When Harry Styles introduces the show, we are about to get into the movies.
But you know why? I thought you played it because Harry Styles was almost in this movie.
He was almost in this film. He was almost Holt's character, right?
It's all connected.
Oh shit! How would that have gone?
That would have.
I would have preferred it.
Oh, really? This is fascinating. I would have hated it. I feel like Styles would have played the character identically to the way the original actor in the 1922 version did, which is a smiling goofball who is going to die. So,
all right. So for those that haven't put it together, it's fine. Today's show, we are going to deep dive on Nosferatu, the Robert Eggers film from 2024.
Nosferatu.
I think it's gonna be an interesting discussion. I rewatched most of it. I didn't get a chance to finish it. Some stuff came up, but I mean, I had already seen it at the theater. So I'm very interested to hear what you guys have to say. I know Clay saw it at the theater as well, and now it's out on digital, and you can just watch it on whatever device you want, your refrigerator, the PSP. What else?
This is film. This is not something meant to be watched on
any
device.
Bring Harry Styles back
on your Apple Watch.
I do agree with that. We were like maybe a fourth of the way through the movie, and my wife said, "I really wish we'd seen this in the theater," which we were supposed to, and then we all got sick. So
you were watching it on your Game Boy Color at the time.
Yes, I was, and also I was printing out every 10 minutes just whatever was on the screen with the little Game Boy printer. So
that I like that.
We're killing Danny. We're just killing him.
No, I like a good Game Boy Color printout. Before we get into it, we've already talked a little bit about Robert Eggers when we did the best movies. Can you guys tell me your favorite vampire movies instead this time?
Ooh.
I have a list because I did read the notes.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes, and I made a list as well.
Let the Right One In is a fantastic vampire movie. I'll start off with my serious answer first before I get into the fun ones. But yeah, Let the Right One In. It is it's like a Norwegian, Swedish film or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Icelandic, someplace cold and European. And it's just so creepy and visceral, and it's a little kid vampire, which makes it 10 times creepier. Yeah, I loved it. That's a great movie. Danny's like calling to make sure that it is actually a movie. He's calling movie phone.
Is that it, Jeff? Or do you have more?
I thought we were going round robin, but I can tell you that From Dusk Till Dawn, also a great vampire movie.
Yes.
Yep.
I love that one. Lost Boys.
Yes. Made my list.
Bram Stoker's Dracula, and Interview with a Vampire.
Okay, now movie or I guess we were just doing movies, right?
Movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because like Shelby brought up What We Do in the Shadows, and I don't like What We Do in the Shadows, the movie, but I love the TV show.
Yeah.
Right. That's good point. And I don't think I haven't seen all the movie. I don't know, but hang on, I need to look something up really quickly.
Is that all your list, Jeff?
That's all.
Okay. My list is A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. If anyone's seen that, which is it's just so moody. Like it just captures that kind of gothic feel in a modern day vampire flick. It's like you just don't know what to expect in that movie. It's just so wild. I love it. Salem's Lot, like, I've been going over Salem's Lot for the past couple of months, going through the old movies and the book, but I love the original TV movie, which I think is the best version. I think the Rob Lowe one has the best atmosphere, and it's the one I want to spend the most time in, but it has the worst. Like the story is not as stable as the first one, but the most recent remake is just the worst. It's not even worth your time. But check out, and then the book, of course, that inspired all of those. And then in the comics arena, Blade and 30 Days of Nights. I mean,
Blade.
goddamn, Blade is just so much fun. Like it's amazing. We got Blade in the 90s with just the look and the style of it, and just Wesley Snipes kicking ass. Like it was so wild that came about because he wanted to play Black Panther so bad that he had set up a studio, but ends up making Blade. And now, like, we rejoice and cheer when he shows up in Deadpool and Wolverine. And 30 Days and Nights is just so awesome to watch. Arnett in it. And just there's an overhead shot of the vampires taking over the city, I think is just beautiful. And Danny Houston's a great vampire in that. Just the look. Ugh, those are so fun. And then, Lost Boys, the usual Gen X pick, I think it's like the perfect Gen X vampire.
I will call you on the perfect Gen X vampire.
Ooh.
Not in the realm of movies, but to me, the quintessential Gen X vampire anything is the role-playing game Vampire the Masquerade. That thing was just like, it was like earth-shattering, right?
I thought you were going to say Monster Squad.
That too.
Yes.
But that's more Wolfman's Nards.
Yeah.
Right? So
I mean, that's like live action Groovy Ghoulies. It's just a big team up.
But my three favorite, and I'm really going, like, you guys will probably all poo-poo these, but my three favorite vampire movies specifically, again, you have to do the twofer back-to-back of the original Nosferatu, Shadow the Vampire. Like, it's just, I'm almost to the point where you can't watch one without the other, right? Like, it's peanut butter and jelly. So those are two of them. The third one, though, and I guess because we didn't really grow up with these here in the States, but I'm a big Hammer horror fan. And I would say The Horror of Dracula is a fantastic vampire movie. If you haven't ever seen it, it's really, really good. It kind of, you watch it and you realize they're not just modernizing the story, but it's setting the template for when we think of a lot of the 1970s vampire Dracula stuff, particularly like Tomb of Dracula in the comics. It's all coming from the Hammer horror. So,
yeah.
Very nice. Well, I'm surprised that Bram Stoker's Dracula. Like, I really like what Francis Ford Coppola did. I think not the weakest part, the most out of place part is Keanu's accent.
Oh yeah.
Which is really interesting when you kind of compare. I mean, the we're going to talk about today, like Nicholas Hoult is the Keanu Reeves character, right? So we'll kind of. I mean, the analogs of like I'm ripping off your homework.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm going to take all the names for Bram Stoker's Dracula and put them in a word spinner and come up with new names, and we can't possibly be sued.
That's right.
This is the what is it? The volcano. What's the other one? Dante's Peak.
Dante's Peak. Volcano.
Which I maintain Volcano is the superior film, but
easily.
We don't have time for that.
We don't have that long of that much of a show to debate those two.
Yeah. I think also pretty recently, Abigail.
Abigail.
Little girl vampire killing everyone with a bunch of like pretty much like a Suicide Squad of misfits.
Sorry.
That was Josh's protestation of Dante's Peak. He's a big Dante's Peak.
Yes, yeah.
Josh
Love
Brolin.
me some James Bond versus U.S.
Okay.
Marshal. So
And probably I would say, and it's been a little while since I've seen it, but I really liked it. And now I'm gonna throw in, I mean, just as an honorable mention, the Underworld films are a hell lot of fun. Yeah, I think they are fun for what they are. I don't know what Clay's nodding at.
I mean, they're fun
Okay,
for, they're fun
I'll
for
give
Kate
you-
Beckinsdale.
Yeah.
She's great. The concept is great, but they take the trope of the vampire, and like within the beginning of the film, you have Kate Beckinsale looking into the mirror, coping with the fact that she's a vampire, but she sees herself in the reflection. So it's like, okay, wait a minute. So is that not part of the vampire? Like they don't give you that foundation of what this vampire is about, but then break the rules throughout the film. So it's like you're just kind of like, okay, whatever, and if it's fun, it's fun. It has great action sequences, and Kate Beckinsale's fun, but the idea of the vampire is removed early.
Her.
Huh?
Fun is what I would use to describe her. Yeah. It has nothing to do
What about
with the
we got
like,
Van Helsing sitting out there as a vampire movie?
God, that is the worst.
Dracula dead and loving it.
or Dracula 2000, Gerard Butler vehicle from the 2000s, of course.
Vampire
Dracula AD or something like that. What's the one with oh gosh, what's his name?
Johnny Lee Miller. Dracula
no,
2000, that one?
Maybe.
Or Dracula AD
was
1973. Is that one?
Like that.
I forgot an honorable mention because it's a mini series, but I think it qualifies, which is the right around the pandemic, the Netflix Dracula came out with Klaus Bang in it. It's by the same team that did Sherlock, and it's
that is a good
fantastic.
series.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Oh, you're talking about Day Shift with Jamie Foxx and Snoop Dogg.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Somehow I confused Klaus Bang and Snoop Dogg. I don't know how I did that.
I will say my third one for real though is Interview with a Vampire. And if you like the movie, go watch the TV show. It's so much better. But I really like the movie. Like I think it's got great performances, and it adapts it in a different way probably than Anne Rice intended.
Oh yes,
that was the 90s.
Well, I mean, not all that differently.
Yeah,
honestly, it's a fairly faithful adaptation. I mean, I've read the first 3 Vampire Chronicle books, but I appreciate this love for that movie because I remember when it came out, it was hugely derided because of just everyone thought that Tom Cruise was miscast as Lestat. Everyone wanted Sting, I believe, was supposed to be Lestat. And
even back then, people were mad at the casting.
No, I screwed that up. I'm sorry. I believe when Anne Rice wrote the novel, she had what's his face from Blade Runner in mind, who plays
Rutger Hauer.
Rutger Hauer. I believe she had him in mind.
Yeah, who plays the vampire in the 2004 Salem slot? He plays the big vampire. Where in the TV version they went for the Nosferatu look. They went with Rutger Hauer in the film, so he gets to have speaking roles and gets to really chew the scenery.
Cool. I need to see that.
Yep.
Dracula Untold was the movie I was thinking of.
Oh, right. Okay.
The first try at the Dark Universe cinematic masterpiece that we never got. Also, quick shout out, Queen of the Damned. Aaliyah was our queen.
Oh wow!
And I don't think the movie's very good.
Yeah,
but she shines on screen. So
I always found it weird they did Interview the Vampire film with Neil Jordan, Queen of the Damned, which is the 3rd book, and never did the Vampire Lestat, which is in the middle.
Which it feels like that's what we're getting next season in the TV show, and I am
that would be cool.
Very excited because Sam Reed just eats up that role. Oh,
that's awesome!
God,
I do need to watch that. God, I can't believe I
do need to watch it. I think sometimes it goes on HBO and sometimes it goes on Netflix. Like they kind of they take turns putting on AMC stuff on their services. So. Movies with Justin, digging the movie talk. Thank you very much. Let us know your favorite vampire movies in the chat. We're gonna get into spoilers for Nosferatu, Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. If you haven't seen it, there's multiple ways for you to watch it now. We've named them all at the top of the show. Real quick, this movie stars Lily Rose Depp as Ellen, Nicholas Hoult as Thomas, Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok, Aaron Taylor Johnson as Friedrich, Willem Dafoe, which we'll talk about, as Professor
Yes.
Albin Eberhard von Franz. What a name! Shut up, Van Helsing. Von Franz is here. We also have Emma Corrin as Anna, and Ralph Ineson as Dr. Willem Slivers. I think that's about the main cast.
It's wild. Every one of those has a comic book movie counterpart role that they've done, except for Lily Rose Depp.
It took me a while to recognize Cassandra Nova. I was like, that's where I know her from.
Yeah,
I know, and it's great seeing her go from that role of just extreme confidence
Oh yeah.
to this role of just this terrified wife and mother. Oh, she's really good.
Yeah, I hear that she's a great Princess Diana in The Crown.
Oh, that makes sense. I didn't think about that.
I haven't seen it, but I hear good things. And of course, like I'm really looking forward to seeing Ralph Ineson as Galactus later on this year.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll see. But let's go around the horn. Josh, since you got the horns, why don't you give us your first
horn? Thank you.
Galactus horns. Why don't you give us your first point, and we'll just kind of go around.
Yeah, sure. So, as others, I'm sure will say, it's beautifully shot, really beautifully shot. And I also liked how there are a lot of what I took away as callbacks to how old silent movies are made. There's a lot of very just stable camera shots. It'll like rotate left or right or up or down. Yeah, but very few like zooms and stuff. I like that.
Zero Dutch angles.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been weird in this film.
Although, can you imagine if they like double down on like Batman 66 style Dutch angles every time Nosferatu shows up? It just Dutch angles.
Yeah.
But one thing I really liked, and it didn't. I thought it was so subtle that when it comes in at the end, I thought it was incredibly visually powerful, which is the way light is used in this movie. Again, it's I was reading online, they really approached it again in the way in old silent films they would just put colored filters over certain scenes to indicate time of the day. So there's so much of that like just blue filter in this. Yeah. And even when you go into scenes where there is candlelight or firelight, it's often so intense it kind of unfocuses what's around it. So the only time we get like really crisp visuals is when there is a scene with sunlight. Is when there's a scene with sunlight, right? And at the end in particular, for the first time you see him like in great detail, and it's kind of fascinating. I don't know, I really love that aspect of it, just how light is very subtle in the movie.
I agree. So I looked into it a little bit. This film was shot in aspect ratio of 1:66:1, which is like known as the European widescreen. Because when I put it on my TV,
I noticed that too.
This is something that's it's tough to recognize at the theater unless you're like because if you go to different theaters, they adjust the screen to like whatever. Yeah. But
they have those curtains.
Sometimes they do it beforehand, so like you don't really notice, right? And I remember. Actually, I'll talk about that in my first point, but I remember I was a couple of minutes late to the screening when I first saw it.
Oh, boy.
I missed the opening scene.
Yeah. There's a huge opening scene.
So, So, I didn't get to see like how the screen adjusted or whatever, because you would have seen it where like I think the curtains go up and down or whatever, depending.
Yeah.
So, but when it's on my TV, there's actually little black bars on the side. Which was interesting because that's usually how it looks when if you guys have put on like the IMAX enhanced stuff on Disney Plus,
Yeah.
that's what they do, right? Because it shows you more of the screen or whatever. So I thought that was very. We were talking about it when we did best movies, even though it's not like a full 4-3 Zack Snyder golden
Right.
ratio.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, if you didn't bring it up, I was going to. So,
So even though it's not a
Gold
full
standard.
standard, like it's still like taller than normal, like normal movies would be. But yeah, I agree. The look is gorgeous. The look is great. I mean, I think both Clay and Jeff have more like stuff to say about the look because I feel like that's one thing we all put on our list, like how this movie just looks.
yeah.
I love when you see them just like dressed up in the middle of this whole calamity. Everybody's like super fancily dressed up and their hair's all nice. And there's a scene where what's her name? Anna is in the bed because she just got bitten by the rats.
Yeah.
And then you switch to the other side and it's Ellen and she's like super prim and pristine. And the house behind her, of course, it's very pristine. So yeah, it's a lot of really cool visual choices. Jeff, Clay, visual choices, anything before we move on to the...
Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, yeah. It's beautifully shot. It's 100% beautifully shot. I love that Eggers uses like old camera techniques and stuff. Yeah, I have no complaints over that. Like it is kind of one of those things where I'm like, it's just a beautiful movie to look at. The settings, like even wherever they shot it, I was just like, that's pretty. I want to visit there. Yeah, all the costuming, and I super appreciate all the camera tricks. Like I will always be on that pulpit. Bring those back. Bring back practical effects. More puppets. More all of it. I know it's maybe more expensive, but whatever, it's worth it.
More
so that
jobs
kind of
for
stuff.
practical rats.
Yeah, more jobs for practical rats. Yeah, I appreciated the real rats. I know PETA hated them, but like stuff like CGI rat, like just the little details, like that stuff like that matters. And this film definitely looked at all the little details and kept those in mind with every single shot. So yeah.
Movies with Justin agrees. Once Nicholas stops at the end, it gets crazy.
If we're doing first vibes, my first vibe is like, what the F is this movie? If we're doing a nice sandwich, then I'll get to the weird stuff where I'm just like, what is this movie?
Yeah.
In the next loop.
Right.
The lighting for me was like a whole nother aspect because it's also used in storytelling. If you watch different moments where characters are lit, they're either like it's usually like Willem Dafoe at the end has the brightest scene because he's got the reflection on him. But you'll see moments of just pure darkness consuming Lily Rose Depp's character, and then when they shoot different sides of people, you'll see someone in full light explaining, and trying to help, and the person who's just consumed by Orlok being shot in the dark. And especially like when they go into Nicholas gets into the casket and he raises up the pick. If you just look in the background, you watch the sunset. The sunset's just going. And it's just
I didn't even notice that.
So
that's cool.
Watch it with just the lighting in mind, and you will see amazing things. Because what's the creepiest thing they show in full bright daylight? The graveyard when they're burying the children. So it's shot in day on snow, and it's probably the most lit scene in the entire movie except for the end.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that kind of blows me away. But this is the second time for me watching it, so I was able to observe all those little moments of how light affected the story. And like the camera pans, it was just like you watch the lights and then you watch the camera, like especially when he goes to the castle and the horses are coming. You see his face of terror, and then just the slow pan, as it goes to the carriage, and then just the carriage door opening, like just the little things like that are just set that tone of creepiness.
I love when they float instead of walking.
Yeah,
Like,
I love that
like,
too.
You know, there's that little like dolly or whatever.
And they mention it later, but you see Nicholas Holt's character's eyes dilate, and you know how Willem Dafoe's looking at Lily Rose's character, and it's like the light is not affecting her. It does the same to him when you see close-ups. You will see moments of his eyes like that, that you know he's been kind of consumed by Orlok.
Now
so they're very there are very little details of the lighting affecting every moment that are really cool to see.
Yeah, I don't think that's acting, Danny. I think that's AI. I did also like, just as a motif, along with the lighting, just the use of the cross. I think my favorite example is when he gets picked up by the coach. If you notice, the road he's walking on, he's right at a crossroads.
Yeah.
And I need to go back and double check it, but I don't think the coach ever goes beyond the cross. I think it stops just south of it. So it's almost like he's got to break across that to get into the coach, you know?
He's at the crossroads and he has to choose. Is he gonna he's made the journey. Is he gonna work for this man? And that's one other aspect that I love of it is beware who you work for. Because he feels like he's going here and like, oh, I'm going to earn money for my family. But what does he have to endure? And then he forgets to read the terms.
There's a weird anti-capitalist tint to this movie that I picked up on.
Exactly. Like, beware who you work for because you may lose everything.
Even if he had read them or attempted to, I don't think he could because it was written in the old language, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
but then there's the scene where he drops the bag of coin. Like, I took notes while I was watching this movie, and like one of my notes was like, "This is America. Get on your knees." As soon as he dropped the bag of coin, like, and then I went back and Googled. I'm like, "Is this one of those things that like scholars were like, oh, but Dracula does have an anti-capitalist kind of whatever, because everybody that works in the firm, because he's like this dude that's just like, I'm in with my firm if I go and do this one like shitty thing. I mean, could you imagine going to work tomorrow and then like your boss is like, hey, you'll be in with this company. You just gotta rent a Kia Sorento and drive to Tennessee to like deal with this guy.
Right.
And I'd be like, okay, yeah, sure. But then your whole life gets screwed up, and then your boss's life gets screwed up, and then like it's because you sell your soul over to money, kind of thing. So I'm like, is that what this movie is telling me? And then it'll also bring the plague.
Think about it too, because he has to travel. So like she's so upset about him leaving and the time period, because how long is he going to be gone? You know, like it's just like an unknown at this point, because the way they describe it's like hidden in on the map that says Transylvania upside down.
Well, and it's also, I noticed, it's at the end of the map, right? So it's like he's going to like the end of the known world, basically. So
All right.
I don't know. I did like the fact. So it's been a long time since I've read the original novel. And of course, the original Nosferatu deals with this as well. But I did like the fact that it really doubles down on the idea of the vampire as plague, which is such a driving force in the book, right? I mean, that's kind of like the main subtext throughout all of it is this idea of plague and this fear of illness. So,
all right, let's keep it chugging along. Let me do my first thing. Because I missed it the first time, that opening scene really is like the perfect thesis statement for the show, right?
It really is, yeah.
It encapsulates like, this is everything you're about to get in the next 2 hours, so hold on for the ride. And it's just very cool. I love the idea of this contract, and like the camera just stays on Lily Rose's Deb's face for like, as she's beckoning for somebody to that. So like even just all those little things of like loneliness and melancholy and like what bad choices you make when you're kind of desperate. I I don't want to get too deep into the age and consent of it all. Maybe we can talk about that later. But
I'm just saying I should not have watched this immediately after watching Fire Walk with Me. There's a lot of overlap in both of those movies.
Wow.
I was watching all those Chris Hansen specials, you know.
But yeah, I really love that opening scene. Like, it was just, I just really also like the way that Eggers does the moonlight to kind of simulate the black and white of the original film, right?
Yeah.
And not everywhere, not every scene, because there's a lot. There's surprisingly a large amount of scenes that take place during the day.
He uses the moonlight during the guy traveling, when Nicholas Holt's character is traveling a lot, and then on the boat he does it really well, because when the guy goes down and says he's going to free us of that curse, and the only light you're getting is moonlight, and it's underneath the ship, so Orlok is there in the background. Barely. Again, it's just moments of showing the evil that I love.
Yep. All right, let's keep working through. Clay, I mean, we kind of touched on your first point, but is there anything else? Or
oh no, I just thought this is just beautiful Gothic horror. Like, I love Eggers films. The only film I really don't get is The Lighthouse, but it looks incredible. The Witch is one where he uses like really close, intimate shots to feel that claustrophobia of that family that has been shunned and put out in the woods, and them fighting amongst each other. And this one is just like, I'm going to show you the world. Like, I'm going to show you, and even in such great detail, to use the shadow hand as it goes across the city. I love that shot, but the shot that does it is Nicholas Holt's character running through the city to save his wife. Like, I love that shot just coming down, because you're like, is he going to make it? And then you realize you're in a horror movie. You're not in a superhero movie.
Yeah. Too bad they didn't have drone cameras back when they did the first Nosferatu.
Oh, Jesus.
I feel like I'm really waiting to see the behind the scenes of a lot of this stuff. Also, maybe even that extended cut of this film, because when the Blu-ray comes out.
Yeah, I know. Eggers said there was a shot that was in the trailer that he had to cut from the film, and he's already promised. He's like, get the Blu-ray; it'll be in there, like stuff like that. So
good.
But I bet that the town was like a little miniature town, and it was kind of shot practically. I could just imagine and see him do stuff like that. Yeah, we'll build a little replica of this town, and then build hand through it. So
there were some very intentional uses of the camera that I thought was great. The one that really jumped out at me is when Holt's character breaks into Orlok's crypt. And he's going down the steps, and the camera's consistently moving, but he goes like 4 steps down and then slips, and it just keeps going. You just see his feet, and then he comes down. It's like, I love that so much. And I tried to find if that was like a mistake, like he slipped by accident, or if it was scripted. I don't know. I love that shot. It was really good.
Yeah. All right. Jeff, why don't you bring us into your first thing, your next thing, however you want to.
This movie is cuckoo bananas, bonkers. I'm just gonna get into it right now. I gotta pull up my notes, but I'm just gonna go with it. I enjoy so many aspects of this movie. I am so confused by this movie because I feel like half this cast is in one movie, the other half is in a completely separate movie, and when they clash, it feels a little like bad community theater sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't want to dog the movie, because there are things that I like. There are so many technical aspects to this movie that I'm like, okay, you're showing off. Like, it is that good. But at the same time, I'm like, but what is going on the outskirts of this movie that keep distracting? Like, I'm just like, I feel like I'm looking at so many different things. Willem Dafoe and what's his name, Orlok, are
Skarsgård
are in like high camp B horror movies, and I am here for it. Like, give me all of that. Give me the like this Darth Vader breathing and just like you know, you get and I saw the interview that Eggers did with the guy that used to be on MTV. Anyway, and he talked about how Batman Returns was a big influence for this movie. So I kind of went into that with that in the back of my head. And you can kind of see it. You can definitely see all the gothic and whatever, and even like the big characterization from
the penguin, right?
Like the penguin,
right.
because I'm just like, exactly. But then Nicholas Hoult and Lily Rose Depp and Aaron Taylor Johnson are like in Remains of the Day or something like that. Like they're doing like like the crazy guy that sends Nicholas Hoult off. Like he's doing Shakespeare. And like so everybody's doing their own little thing in this movie, and then when they have to kind of interact, I'm just like, what's going on? These are the weirdest things. Like there's that scene where Willem Dafoe and Lily, like right before they're going off to go kill Orlok or whatever, they walk up like this kind of little stairwell and have this little moment together. And I'm just like, Willem Dafoe is such a great actor, and he can do anything, absolutely anything. And he is nailing this scene. And Lily Rose Depp is just like a little Lily Rose petal flower kind of thing, just looking so fragile and whatever. But the things that they are saying are so ridiculous. I'm just like, they're acting the hell out of this scene, but he's talking about like I don't know, creatures. Like it's not even that I don't get the vampire lore and stuff. It's just that the dialogue and the way that they're acting the scene are completely clashing for me, because I'm like, this needs to be because Willem Dafoe's in a B horror movie, and Lily Rose is in Remains of the Day. And it just does not make sense in my head when they're trying to like talk these two things out.
Sorry.
Well, I would watch a full-on Willem Dafoe Van Helsing movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would too. 100%. I want to see. That's why when we were like Harry Styles was going to be Nicholas Hoult, I was like, give me that camp, because that's what this movie. This movie was so focused on the artistry that when it got to but it was like but it was unfocused at the same time. So like we were doing cool shots with miniatures and shadows and stuff like that. And then that first time you see Orlok, it's the straight out of the like a Hitchcock. It's all you see are the eyes kind of thing. And so I'm just like, he's nailing every single trope that you want to see in every single one of these genres. But then you throw them all into a blender, and then this is what you're getting. So you're like, and it's this weird, it's just too much of a weird mix for me at the end of it all, where I'm just like, I love it, but I don't get it. Like, I don't get what you're doing. It's pick one lane, like, or pick 3 lanes, but don't pick 7. Like, that's too many.
So I half agree with you. I agree with you. Like, I felt like there were kind of two, like you said, kind of 2 films happening at once. I took it as intentional. Because the people that understood Orlok and that world are acting at like B camp high level, right? That would be Defoe, that would be Skarsgård to a great degree. I thought Rose Depp did that too. I kind of hope she wins an award. I think she was fucking brilliant.
She's not nominated for any Oscars, which is a shame.
Fuck, man.
I loved her in Yoga Hosers.
I was about to
That's the only film I've seen her in, so the only reference I have is what she did in that.
But to your point,
X-Men someday.
but to your point, Jeff, there is one scene in particular that I was stifling laughter because I felt like, again, it was like the acting was just not meshing. And it's the scene where Aaron Taylor Johnson and Dr. Seaver are just alone in like his study talking, and it's when
I lulled at I think I know what you're talking about. I completely lulled twice during this movie.
Yeah,
because I'm glad I didn't see it in the theater.
All of Aaron Taylor Johnson's dialogue is just this incredulous repeat as a question of the last thing that Seaver says, and he does it like 7 times, and by the 5th time, I'm just like, this is bad. This is so bad, and it just, that one scene was the one that stood out to me. It's just like, oh, this needed editing, or this needed like reshoots, or like just this one moment, because it didn't work. And I didn't feel like it was Taylor Johnson's fault. I felt like it was how it was written and directed.
Yeah.
So
there's a scene right after the possession scene, the exorcist scene with Lily Rose, and then right after that hard cut, it's just them. It's the three of them, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Willem Dafoe, and then Willem Dafoe smoking on his pipe. And he's like, "It's just as I feared." And then he just pauses and looks out. There's a good like 2 beats. Aaron Taylor Johnson just like kind of looking at him. He's like, "Well," and the guy's like, "Well, what?" You know, it's like full on like airplane comedy. Like this is full on parody, and I love. There's that scene right when they're going to go off and kill Orlok, when Nicholas Hoult is talking to Lily Rose Depp, and they're like having this like conversation. He's like, "You've got to kill him." He's like, "I'm gonna kill him. Next time you see me, he's gonna be dead." Big speech, and then he turns around and he starts limping off the thing. I just lulled myself off my chair, just like too much.
I felt that that Defoe was supposed to be an outsider, so his character would be different than everyone else, because they even say at the beginning, like, he's into alchemy. You know, it's a little weird, but if you want to bring him in, then he might be able to help. And that even challenges Aaron Taylor Johnson, because he's like, "Well, you talk about this, but you've never seen a vampire." And he's like, "Well, in books I've read," and he's like, "Books?" Like he just throws away like as if like, "Oh, it's just knowledge, you read it somewhere," and throws it away. But I think Defoe's character being that way is just him being the outsider. And as the film evolves, like when you get to after the funeral scene and they're in the carriage together, they're all huddled together. They're talking. I mean, he's leading that discussion on how it to happen, because they finally believe, but it took all these deaths for them to believe in his character, who is a little wacky. I mean, when they meet him, it makes me go, I would love to have been a student of Defoe's character in this film, because he's so weird in the scene where they go in. He's just sitting there and he's drinking, and he goes, "Don't you remember I was one of your students?" And he just embraces him, and he's excited. And
my boy, come here, my boy.
Yes, yeah, he really just gets into it right there. I just love Willem Dafoe in this. This is one of my favorites. Yeah,
I wrote down one quote from Willem Dafoe when he tells them, like, "I have known things that would make Isaac Newton crawl back into his mother's womb."
Yeah, that was great.
That's so good. And I love the way Dafoe, like the first time he meets, the first time he goes to see Ellen.
Oh,
untie her, and like he's treating her like a person, because he knows that there's an affliction.
And he's the weird one for treating her like a person. That's the weird part, because the doctor's like, "Well, use the corset to constrain her. We'll up the ether, and if you have to, just tie her down."
Yeah,
like that's the doctor's idea of how to handle her.
I'm surprised we didn't see a scene with leeches, because they kept talking about how somnambulism is caused by having too much blood. Which, like, back in the day, put a leech on it. That was the answer to it. Put a leech on it.
Probably going back to that, honestly.
Yeah. That was actually the song hit of that era, and then stolen for "Put a Ring on It" later. So
put a leech on it. Put a leech on it.
Put a leech on it.
All right.
Where does one pick up ether nowadays? Because that stuff looks awesome.
It does, yeah.
Especially because you could just apply it with a handkerchief.
Yeah.
How many medicines nowadays can you just apply with a handkerchief?
Exactly.
In my experience, zero. If anything, I just use a handkerchief to get crap out of my nose.
Just a little bit every night, get you some good night's sleep. I also liked it when Nicholas Hoult called Aaron Taylor Johnson a rotting old goat when at the beginning of the movie, and he's like, "I'm pregnant," or "We're pregnant." And he's like, "Oh, you rotting old goat."
He's like, "Yeah, he's horny or something." They made a joke.
Yeah, I liked his little.
Dude, I will say Aaron Taylor Johnson had probably the best life, and he lost everything. He's a good friend, though. I think through and through, like he stuck with them as long as he could.
Yeah.
I was a little sad when I did lull a little bit when I saw baby coffins. I was just like, "Oh, baby coffins."
We went there too. Double twin baby.
Yeah, twin baby coffins. I was sad. So, and I do wonder, we were talking about the stuff that ended up on the cutting room floor, like when he goes back to the crypt to with his kids and then the wife, and then he ends up like maybe his wife,
That's very heavily
So-
implied.
It's implied, my roommate was wondering, he's like, is that shot because a friend of mine was, they were like, I don't like that it was implied, just go for it, go full on Saltburn, show, push it to those limits, because if you're gonna go there, don't whatever.
But the
And as
kiss
I was
was enough
watching-
for me to cringe.
Yeah,
because-
same.
Because
Yeah.
all I could think of was there's no embalming fluid. She's just kind of thrown in a box, and
Yeah.
I
She
was-
has those rat wounds on her,
See, this is one of those things where I was like, I feel like the movie pulls and pushes in too many different directions, because then I feel like, oh, we're going to go for kind of creepy, disturbing, but then it never really commits to it. And I wanted it to be like, no, go full on vampire, have those little babies pop out and eat Papa, because how cool would that be? And then,
hell, for fuck's sake, Jordan's Interview with the Vampire goes full on baby vampires attacking people, if I recall correctly. So
that's what I wanted. So that's where I was like, they made the kind of creepy, sexy, ooh, this is taboo choice. But again, if you're gonna make that choice, make that choice. Don't be scared because of Iowa or whatever,
we're all scared because of Iowa.
Yeah.
All right. Josh, let's go to your next thing.
Well, I'll kind of build off of what Jeff is saying. My big picture pros and cons of this are, one, I love the original movie, 1922, and the weakest part of that is the fact that the wife character is basically just a damsel in distress.
Yeah.
I love, in this contemporary version, giving her so much agency and authority and power, right? She's still a damsel in distress, but it's her decision at the end.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really, really great. My complaint heavily about this is, again, in an attempt to improve upon the original, and I had to double check this, I just brought it up. In the original movie, it's 90 minutes long. The last 19 minutes are just after Orlok arrives in the city. That's it. It is 19 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. That's it. All right. It definitely moves very fast at the end in the original. And I felt like Eggers is like, we need to expand that. That was a smart choice. It's way too fucking long. It is way too long at the end. It just, to the point where we were watching it and Marius like, I'm kind of bored right now. It goes on way too long. I feel like the tension would have increased if that third act had been trimmed down a bit. It needed more from a storytelling standpoint, but boy, howdy is it long.
I agree. The second time around watching it, it was so my fear the first time was like, well, I already know the story. Am I gonna be bored watching this movie?
Yeah, good
which
point.
I was not, because there was so much new stuff and it was very cool, and all the things we've talked about. I will say though, upon the rewatch, the stuff after Nicholas Hoult gets back and he's sick and he gets kicked out of their house,
Yeah.
I don't care that much for that. I would, if I'm watching at home, I may fast forward through that to get to the third act and finish out the big, the big battle and stuff. So I completely agree with you there.
I gotta disagree, because I love seeing the fact that they're kicked out. They're still dressed to the nines, carrying all of their stuff, going through the streets of dead people. There are dead people just lying everywhere. So that the idea that the city is just ravaged by this
the plague,
and yet they're still prim and proper. They've got a dress. They can't just go out and they're in their sweatpants and go to the next place they're going to live. But just that, because of society. I mean, and the rules of society and where they were in society, because he was like a working man. If I could jump into some of my points real quick, there are gender roles addressed in this film that are very interesting, because there was a time where vampires were seen as creepy and then evolved into the good looking vampire, the sexy vampire, people.
Anne Rice.
That I think Frank Langella was the one that everyone was like, oh, that was the first sexy vampire.
That's fair.
In the 70s and stuff. And then you look at like Aaron Taylor Johnson's character. He is a well-to-do man who's had 2 kids. He's taken in this one, like he's like the alpha guy, but he doesn't have it together at all. Like he doesn't listen to the people who know what's going on. He loses his wife. He loses his kids. Everything he does is it just ends up being terrible. And you look how it ends. But you take Holt's character. He is he's seen as weaker. He's shown crying. He's shown being like really embraced by Orlok, as he's like drinking his blood. And the insults that come from his wife are, you fell in his arms like what, I forget how he describes the woman, but just like, but just describes him almost like, not manly. Like they purposely like kind of have that, but Holt's character loves her regardless of anything. When she confesses, like, I'm not pure and I met him in this, he's like, doesn't matter. Like the love is what's going to save us. And Aaron Taylor Johnson's character was all like, he was going to try to fix everything the way he thought he could and failed at every stop.
Yeah.
But just the idea of a vampire who was sexy that could pull her away would almost make more sense, but by making him so disturbing looking that we don't really get to see until the end, is great. Because like even with the first time we see like the shot of him at the castle, you got light behind him, light to the side of him, but you still can't see him.
Well, we do get Nosferatu Dong when he fails to murder him,
which also had a mustache, which is weird.
This was a fancy mustache film.
But I do love your point, Clay, because that makes me rethink kind of what they attempt to do at the end, which is Defoe's character being like, okay, here is how we're going to finish Orlok, right? We're going to go and do X, Y, and Z. And then he steps aside and tells his wife, it's all up to you, right? And so you get this whole sequence where the 3 dudes like we're going to take care of this, right? It's this very masculine role sort of thing. Does nothing, right? Yeah. Like, and he even realizes at the end. So
yeah, Aaron Taylor Johnson's character discovers the only time he has that love is at the end when he's on top of his dead wife, and that's the saddest part of it. And and it's just, this might be the best movie he's done. I loved seeing him in this, going from this boisterous guy who's like, I'm making children, I'm, doing all this stuff. And when the shipwreck's there, they bring him because he's in charge of the shipwreck. You got to bring this guy. He knows what he's talking about, but he doesn't through the whole film. He continuously makes the wrong decision at every turn.
And that's only because you have not seen Kraven the Hunter.
Or you're forgetting Godzilla.
Oh, I forgot he's also in, along with Scarlet Witch, right?
Yeah. Big Ass has come a long way. All right, let me go on to the next thing. The scene where they are bargaining at the castle. The first time we see Orlok, and he just gets there, and he's like, put your stuff down, and we're going to do this right now, or whatever.
Call me
my lord.
That is like the best anxiety tension I've seen in a movie in a long time. Just like Nicholas Hoult, like he's sweating, he cuts his hand, and then they zoom into his eye, into Orlok's eyes. And Bill Skarsgård like just doing the best creepy eye work that I've seen since It Chapter 1 and 2, right? In a completely different way. But yeah, that whole sequence, that whole scene, everything that happens in the castle is it's like a nightmare, like a nightmare brought to life, and I love it. It's the first time we see glimpses of Orlok, right? We see his hands, we see that he has a mustache.
Out of focus, right? He's always like,
it's all
yeah,
out of focus. It's all
yeah.
like little pieces, which I love that Eggers is like, I'm not gonna show you the whole thing until I show you the whole thing.
Right, yeah.
It's because they couldn't get the shark to work. That's
Yeah.
really what happened.
Nice Jaws callback. I did also like that scene because to me, the two characters in this that are the most positively reimagined are Lily Rose Depp's character and Holt's character. If you've seen the original movie, Hutter in that movie is just a smiling goofball the entire fucking time. Well, I was just rewatching a scene when he's in his hotel room before he goes to the castle, and there's a book on vampires. He's reading the book, he just goes, "Meh," and like throws the book away, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? So that scene with Holt, where it's like you slowly, steadfastly begin to watch him realize, as we realize in real time, he's fucked, right? Like, as it happens throughout that whole scene, the tension builds so good. It was so good.
See, that just makes me want to watch a version of this movie where it's Michael Cera instead. Like, instead he's just nervous energy and just...
Well,
as Orlok?
Yeah, it's Orlok.
Well, originally Bill Eggers wanted Skarsgård to be
Hutter.
Yeah. Which is very interesting.
So
I
then
haven't really heard about Harry Styles, but that's also weird.
But then if he had gone with the original casting, who would have played Orlok, I wonder?
What's his name? Andy Serkis.
Jack Black.
Jack Black.
School of Warlock.
Reprising his role from that Satan Christmas movie that came out.
He just switches everyone over one role. So like Willem Dafoe becomes Orlok, Ralph Ineson becomes Van Helsing.
Oh,
and then you get somebody else.
Doug Jones.
Doug Jones would be good. Well, except, and I was reading the stuff about this. Did you see that around the same time last year, another remake of Nosferatu came out that was kickstarted, and they got Doug Jones to play Orlok.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so that does exist apparently.
Yeah, I mean, but with his role in What We Do in the Shadows is basically kind of that same type of role.
Exactly.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So and Robert Eggers' next movie is a werewolf movie. He's got a witch movie, a vampire movie, and a werewolf movie now.
He's putting his own Monster Squad together.
Monster Squad by Robert Eggers is what I want to get to eventually.
My God, that would be amazing.
Or we're getting this cinematic White Wolf RPG universe. It's the World of Darkness movie, right? if he's done vampire, well, I guess there was not a witch game. Shit. He needs ghost, fairies, and mages, and then he'll have the whole kit and caboodle. So,
he's low-key creating his own little universe.
Yeah.
And then just two guys farting in a lighthouse.
I cannot wait to see this movie. I have always wanted to, but now after watching Nosferatu, I'm like, I've got to see the lighthouse. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm like, this might be comedy gold, the lighthouse. Like, I'm of the more I'm watching, I'm like, he might be a comedy genius, I think.
All right. Jeff, let's go to your next or last point, maybe. I don't know. We'll try to clean up. We've crossed over the streams a little bit, but I think my last two parts were kind of like the same thing. It's just this movie technically fantastic. The acting's great. It's weird because each individual part, it's like watching one of those sports teams that gets all the great players on it, but then they just don't win the championship because it's too many great things, and they all kind of step on each other's toes. I think that's kind of how this movie feels for me, where I'm like, everything, I can't complain about any of it, but I only enjoy it in like 5 to 10 minute segments, and then it's like I'm watching a completely different movie, and then I'm watching a completely different movie with all its own like that, and in that moment I'm really enjoying it, and then it hard left. I could just go over some of my notes here when the guy bit the head off the bird. In my head, I was like, "Is it cake?" I don't know.
I really wondered about that. If that was CGI, that was damn impressive.
I think
It's
it
a
was
swap
'cause
out.
in watching the second. He has a live one.
Right.
His hands go down. He brings it up. The only way you know that bird's alive is it blinks. So I think the CGI is just making the bird blink so that he can.
Oh, okay.
That would make sense.
Yeah, I do think it was cake.
I would hope so. I would hope that.
Right.
And it looked like red velvet.
My comment immediately after it was, man, I hope that actor didn't get bird flu.
Prize of Adrian. Right?
If I were Nicholas Holt's character, I would be pissed off after night one. That first Airbnb where like the old lady's like screaming at me and spitting on the floor.
Yeah.
Also, it's like 2 nights in a row. Like there's like a hard cut where he's like, "Oh my God, they like the townsfolk went out and dug up this guy and killed him." And then he wakes up. The next scene is he wakes up in the thing, in his hotel room or whatever. And then the very next night, he goes and meets with Orlok, and then all of a sudden he wakes up in his room. And if I were Nicholas Holt, I'm like, why can't I remember the nights before? I'm having issues. Like that's where
We didn't really talk about the Romani village, that they are doing their own little ritual sacrifice thing. Which is the other part of some of the nudity you see in this film, other than the Nosferatu dong. But I hate when he gets to the village and immediately like, don't give him your horse, and he almost forgets to grab his bag from the horse.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I remember that.
And then the kids surround them to like, they want stuff, and they all the people just kind of start laughing at him until like the main person comes out. But I don't know. That looks like, it feels like that's not even where those people live. They're just kind of there first, I guess, and then they left.
Well, they were gypsies, so I thought that they were like travelers. And
yeah, they are like some of
that's what I figured.
the Romani were.
Weird. Who? But I like how different. I mean, because everyone we see in the town is like very well kempt and like their hair on fleek every minute of the day. And then you get to this village and it's like people with long hair and beards, and like, oh, okay, this is how the rest. So they're very shielded and very protected in their little town from the rest of the world.
Yeah, I'm very curious how he lit that the inn, because it has like a lot of candles. And Kubrick did in Barry Lyndon lights a room with candles and films it, but it's so much more clear. Like I like the two extremes. I'm very curious how both were able to successfully make that happen and work with the atmosphere that it created.
I felt like a lot of that scene in particular, when Holt walks in, you get like the fireplace in the background and all the candles. I felt like the radiant glow and the out of focus quality was all probably CGI or at least post-processing. Because it was just, I mean, the glow in particular was like, it was so intense. It was actually like obscuring a lot. It made the room feel darker than it should have been.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that stuff is like CGI, or is this just like, are we just so used to like everything being like for the last 20 to 30 years? Like, I'm like, these are all old school film techniques that people are just like, it could probably be enhanced by.
Yeah, it could be stuff. That. Yeah, I guess I'm just using CGI as shorthand, but I felt like there was some sort of like trick or processing.
Yeah, there's color correction and stuff afterwards.
I already used a lot of filters.
Yeah, but even then, like I feel like that's old school. Like I just love the fact that they go, but like they're like, we have all these techniques that we're just simply choosing not to use,
right?
Just because, but we have the technology. Yeah, we can throw it into a computer, and the computer can do it for us. But with just a little bit more time and effort, we could do a lot of these things in camera or whatever. And I appreciate that attention to detail.
I mean,
even when you have an actor, but it worked. Love it.
Do you think the gypsies were traveling around just killing the vampires he was creating from the castle because they knew don't go to the castle? They knew to dig up this guy and kill him. And I feel like that but maybe they didn't know enough because they do it at night. And that's why they bring the sacrifice, that if shit goes bad, we'll just take off and lead the sacrifice.
No, I read somewhere that an old folk legend from that area was you could find a vampire's grave with a virgin on horseback.
Oh, okay.
And so that
Like
supposedly is what that's referring to.
Like the little stick
yeah.
that you can find
Yeah,
water.
The vinyl rods. Okay, to all of that, my last point I want to make, I have to do a fact check with you all first before I make it. So when I watched it, I loaded up a specific subtitle file so we could read subtitles. Whenever there is a group like the gypsies, or like when he goes to the nunnery when he's found, and they're all speaking other languages, are there translations of that in the normal film or not?
I don't know. I had subtitles on too, and I can't remember if the theater I think had it.
Anytime Orlok speaks a different language, there's definitely subtitles. For the Romani, I don't really know if they had. I don't think they did, and I think that's on purpose. Like when they're in the big crowd, right? Because when they speak to Nicholas Hoult, sometimes they speak where he doesn't understand them, and sometimes they speak English to him.
Yeah.
So I think as far as the larger group, so I think the only one that had subtitles was Orlok. All throughout the film, when because he's talking to her in whatever his own language, a few times. But as far as this larger group, I don't think they had that. So,
well, I all right, that's good to hear. I just asked because I thought it was intentional, and the reason I thought it was intentional was when you're watching those scenes, because there's no translation unless you speak the language that they're talking, you are watching it in the way we used to watch old silent movies, right? You only have their acting and their the way that they're emoting and responding to understand story. Now, again, most silent films didn't have like the interstitial title cards that give you like certain bits to follow. But in between those title cards, you're just watching the actors trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah. And I loved that aspect of it. I thought it was a really interesting way of both modernizing the film, but also calling back to the experience of old silent films. So,
yeah, agree. All right, I think I've gone through all my stuff because we talked a lot about the visuals, and that was going to be kind of my last point. I do want to say, if you want an even longer version of this film, when the Blu-ray comes out, of course, watch the extended version. But then when you get to the captain's boat thing, you put on The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
I had that exact same thought.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, if you've seen the Last Voyage of the Demeter, they use a more Orlok type of look for the creature. So that was all. I really liked it, and I can see. I'm surprised they had never made that into a movie, because it's such an interesting piece of the story. Even though I believe in the book it's only like one chapter, right?
It's very short in the book. Yeah. I mean it's not long at all, but it's like the most compelling part of the book. So
the only other thing is I wish I had time. And I mean, I guess I had time. I just didn't do it. I wanted to have seen two movies. The one you guys recommended, Shadow the Vampire, I think, right?
Yep.
And then also rewatch Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. Just to see like all the real beats. You don't like that movie, Josh? I feel like that's the second time you kind of do a little head nod.
Yeah. It's fine. I think the thing I dislike about that movie is, and this is kind of unfair, it was in that era where there was we're going to make a version of these stories that are true to it, right? So you had Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula, you had Brannow's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which is the bigger piece of shit. But my complaint about Coppola's is it basically becomes to compare it to Eggers' Nosferatu, Coppola's is also a love story. But by becoming a love story, it completely throws out what makes the original book so interesting and compelling, which is that plague aspect, right? The original book is not a love story. Except between like the husband and wife in it. It is very much a sense of humans battling something much, much bigger than them. And I just kind of felt like Coppola didn't get that. He kind of crammed in this weird love story in it. So I don't know.
Fair enough.
I need to
like
revisit it. I hadn't seen it in a while.
I like, if we're going to throw in a love story into Dracula, like I prefer it to be, you remind me of my ex-wife from like a million years ago, rather than I met you in a chat room, a mental chat room.
Nah,
when
see,
you were
I would
13, and now I'm like, now I've concocted this whole thing to get your husband to come out and sell me land so I can.
I am way more for that, honestly, because you just know it's going to be an energy vampire rather than. So
Yeah, and it's funny because I was watching The Mummy yesterday because it was on TV.
oh, so good.
And I just love that movie. But there's also like a big part. It's kind of the same.
Okay, hang on, clarify it. Which one?
Oh, the 1999.
Oh, thank God! All right.
All right.
Like, Tom Cruise is great in that movie.
Yeah. No, I started watching that one. I never finished it because I was like, this is not very good. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it gets better. But yeah, I mean, the creature also going after Evie, right? To bring his own. So I like that all these Universal monsters are just horny. And they just going down.
And again, what's so funny is they keep borrowing it. The only, like, that is the plot of the original Universal Mummy. It's basically the plot of Coppola's Dracula. Totally agree with Justin. The original Mummy from 1940, whatever, 30, whatever, is so good.
Yeah,
it's so good.
All right. Do we have any last thoughts that I haven't gotten to? I know we kind of went
32.
all over the place, but Josh,
Or 59.
Go ahead, Josh.
Okay, here's my question for you guys, because I was very impressed. I mean, it comes as no shock as Skarsgård as Orlok. Just the way. First off, I do love the mustache. I know it's probably controversial. He looks great, and if you've ever seen supposed paintings of Vlad Dracul, he has that mustache. It's a very like Eastern European mustache.
Yeah.
Is Skarsgård our generation's Lon Chaney?
I mean, yeah, probably.
Hold on, let's do a show properly.
I would put out Ron Perlman. I'd put out Doug Jones.
Doug Jones, certainly, yeah.
You know, they're in that arena. Yeah.
Okay.
Class, Josh, can you tell us who that person is?
Sorry. Okay, so if you go back to the dawn of silent movies, the actor, he was known as the Man of 1,000 Faces. He was in Hunchback of Notre Dame. Phantom of the Opera is probably the most famous. If you've ever seen that classic silent Phantom, that's Lon Chaney. And he would fucking disfigure himself to get into these roles. I mean, really, really intense. And watching Skarsgård, like, I kept in my brain going back to like It and his role as Pennywise. And I'm like, this dude just put him in makeup and he just like does everything to embody that role. It's like he's kind of like a Lon Chaney Jr. or Lon Chaney, Senior.
And if you've seen the movie Barbarians, they play to that trope of him basically being kind of like that guy in there, but being a regular guy at the beginning of the film. So you're just like waiting for it. So yeah, I'm curious what he'll do next because he is a great monster.
He's doing another action movie. So it looks like
Crow 2.
If we get to it, we'll watch the trailer at the end of the show.
Okay.
Josh, if you were to grow out your mustache a little bit more, and then we could get you like a little hair piece.
Yeah, I just need a little forelock.
Like this. You know.
That's awesome.
So that's pretty good, right?
Yeah, I like it.
It's just like Vlad the Impaler, obviously, is kind of where the legend comes from. So, all right. Any last thoughts, Jeff, Clay?
Oh, no, I just dropped an image in chat if you wanted to read any Dracula in comics.
Oh, yeah. Tomb of Dracula, maybe?
Dracula.
Yeah.
I've got nothing.
Oh, gosh. How do you blow that up? Blow it up, Daniel.
Hold on, I'll figure
Blow it up. Blow it up.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
there's Tomb of Dracula, Werewolf by Night. Dracula shows up. Dracula and Moon Knight. But then there's Marvel Collected Horror that's there. There's just a lot of good Dracula stuff. I'm currently reading like 70s Blade from the magazines, where like Gene Ha did a lot of the artwork in there that's very gothic looking, and it's just done in black and white, and it's great. So if you ever want to look up some incredible artwork, Gene Ha did a book called Lights and Shadows that is just kind of is about his artwork from that time period. There.
little bit of a better look, but I don't know, Clay. This is the worst screenshot I've ever seen.
That's Danny getting on you for not cropping your screenshots again there.
Well, no, it's just I don't know why it's so.
But I know who Lon Chaney is, so
yeah.
And that's the reason why you can't do screenshots, because
right. You can only do one or the other. Know who Lon Chaney is or crop screenshots. That's it. Those are the two categories.
I will say the recent Blade stuff, he's dealt a lot with Dracula, like because Dracula's like got there's this whole thing where he took all his vampires and he's like, fine, I'll just go to Chernobyl, we'll live there, and that'll be the vampire capital of the world because none of you humans can live there. So like there's a lot of really cool stuff.
Has
and then,
anybody
of course, with the blood hunt event, like Dracula was a big part of that.
has anybody ever read wasn't Storm Dracula's bride at one point in time?
yeah.
Has anybody ever read that little bit?
Have you seen Storm? Would you not want her to be your bride at some point?
No, of course I would, totally. Like
no, I mean I get that, but also isn't it risky for Dracula to have Storm as his bride? She just makes the clouds move and suddenly sunlight hits you. I mean, it's
I mean, she's a
real
goddess,
problem.
but he could control a goddess.
Yeah.
yeah, there is that.
Yeah, see, I know y'all are being really hard on Lily Rose Depp, but I feel like she's playing a character
No, I loved her.
Whose soul is being torn apart, and even when she's whole, she carries guilt. And she and when she confesses that guilt and is in between being possessed and being herself, it just seems like that she's having that it is taking a physical toll on her.
Apparently the scene where she opens her mouth and her tongue comes out, that is not CGI. That is all her.
Yeah.
And it's stunning. I was watching it going, holy fuck, how did that happen?
You guys don't do weird things with your faces all the time?
Nope.
Not like that.
I had this, Jeff. I don't need any more weird here. So
this was born weird.
I already look like Tobias Funke.
You did jog my memory about with again going back to the Dracula thing, where with Dracula it was that what's her name, Mina reminded him. Harker reminded him of like an old, his first wife or whatever.
Yeah. And
in this one, it was just like, well, Orlok was asleep, or I forget what he says. He was just like, I just happened to notice you, and I was just like, oh, now I'm horny. But then, like as I was watching, I was just like, for this 5-head, Lily Rose, you came out of slumber for this 5-head. I think there are prettier girls out there. Or
burn. Ouch. Well, but the thing is, the way that her contract with him is structured is like that of a demon. And so I really like that wasn't wrong, that interpretation, like she's possessed by a demon. I do also, oh fuck. Sorry, I just lost it. My brain went somewhere. It's gone. Never mind.
Orlok.
It did.
Orlok got you.
Check his pupils.
I do want to see the Orlok Chris Hansen thing. That's really what I want to see. It says here you told her that you are an appetite. What does that mean? I know that she was 15 when you said that to her.
I was kind of obsessed early on. Again, like the fact that they don't just make her a visual object for everyone to be focused on, that she is a really true character. One of the big changes is in the original film, of course, Hutter has like her portrait on a pendant that he wears, and that's how Nosferatu sees it the first time, right? And this one, it's the hair. and he sniffs the hair, and my wife said, "Oh, it's like an animal, like getting the scent." And I love that aspect of it. Like, he knows of her not because he like sees this beautiful woman, because he knows her smell, and it's it's so creepy. So,
did you watch this with the whole fam, Josh?
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we were all going to go to the theater together anyway.
What did they think?
Honestly, Hazel seemed bored by it. Jen, I think, liked it, but also thought it was way too long and kind of slow. So,
all right, cool. All right, well, I think we've covered Nosferatu pretty thoroughly. So let us know.
I would like to apologize for the 5-head remark to Lily Rose Depp. You're a beautiful person. It was just a joke.
Yeah.
I feel bad about it.
We did pause it at some point as both my wife and daughter talked about the foreheads in this movie. So
you did not know how to smile back
the
then.
hair is so tight to the back.
Yeah.
It just you can't help, especially when they wear the little bonnets that even emphasize it even more.
It stopped like right at the hairline, so all you see is forehead.
The film could have been longer if they showed people constantly grooming their hair and mustaches, because everybody was so perfect with the way their look was.
Yeah.
Carlos likes Nosferatu, so
yeah.
All right, I think after rewatching it, I'm sticking to 4 stars and that I did on Letterboxd the first time around.
4.5. 4.5 for me.
I did 3.5. I was, again, I'll take the original, but that's probably just me.
Jeff, do you have a Letterboxd?
Yeah, I don't have a Letterboxd, but I'm gonna go with Josh. I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
We need to get Jeff in the Letterboxd. I think you'll.
Yeah, I know.
It seems like so much work.
No,
especially now that I don't have to do TikTok. I'm like, let me just do Letterboxd. All right.
No one told Danny TikTok's back.
I don't trust
deleted it.
on TikTok. I don't trust it. There's something fishy about it, and I'm not going back. It's still on my phone, but I haven't opened it since it came back.
Oh, it's still on your phone. So you were one of the ones that I know so many people that deleted it.
Oh, and they couldn't get it.
And they can't get it back. Yeah, I was just like, why would you delete it like within minutes of it going? Like, you knew that this was all still up in the air anyway.
Oh, by the way, pro tip, because again, it also took down Marvel Snap. If you're a Marvel Snap player, get back into the game. There is a massive welcome back package they're giving everyone because it went down.
Yeah.
It was impressive. I was like, holy fuck, that's a lot. So
all you have to do is share your data with China.
I think they said they're looking for a new owner because they don't want this to happen again.
It's not like my data isn't out there for everybody to find everywhere, anywhere.
Yeah.
Like China's over there going, ooh, Clay really likes comics. And he is watching Infinity War and Endgame for the 3rd time this week. Holy shit, this guy, what is he doing?
All the different is I use Kitty Pryde all the time. So she's my goat.
All right. Let's move on to our whatever. We'll just talk about the stuff we've been watching for the rest of the show. I will say, I know, Carlos, they have a lot more than that. Whatever. I'm not that interesting of an individual.
Yeah.
So this week, and I don't know if you guys watch it because I don't see this on anybody's list. I watched the first 2 episodes of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Oh,
I did. I watched the first episode and then
you don't like it?
The animation is soulless.
The animation feels a lot like Archer, so definitely like getting used to it. It is very different, but I like it because of the cast around Peter. That
I mean that is fun. Interesting, but like I don't like the look of it, and it just seems like it seems barely a step above the 60s animation style.
Ooh, wow.
And if you're gonna do that, then make it cool, like 60s animation style.
I think it feels to me like they it almost feels like they're grabbing panels. Do you remember the old South Park that felt really like the original South Park that you could tell they were just cutouts and they were moving them around?
Yeah.
I feel like they want to. Well, I don't know if this is the intent, but this is just kind of how I felt that they wanted to like almost a motion comic, but a little.
Yeah, they wanted a comic book feel, but then they didn't pick an artist or a style to copy, so it's just very basic.
Yeah, and I like Peter's. For some reason, I really like this costume with the hockey jersey and he's got like these little mnemonic tubes to help him shoot
I
the webs.
I don't. I don't. I mean, I get it, and I had a similar idea way back in college when I was contemplating a Spider-Man story I wanted to tell. And in my mind, a perfect, like, I'm a kid becoming a superhero would be the gear you wear for fencing, right? You get the kind of like the one piece padding up top. You get the fencing helmet. You paint some eyes on it. This one just feels very.
Well,
I don't know. It's not clicking.
The previews, you're gonna get a lot more suits this season for some reason. So
I
see how that plays out.
noticed that.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep watching. I enjoyed it enough. I thought it was fun enough. I really like Coleman Domingo as Norman Osborn. I think he's great in
That's
that.
cool.
And they're doing some stuff with some of the other characters that are like everyone is somebody from the comics, but they're not. Like Tombstone is in, like Lincoln. Oh, I forget his last name. He's a classmate of Peter's, but in the comics we know him as Tombstone. So like, is he gonna turn into Tombstone eventually, or did they just pick his name? So yeah, so I enjoyed it. What I did not enjoy as much, but I wanted to check it out because I need to make a video. Will Ferrell and Reese Witherspoon just put out a new film.
You watched the rom-com? Interesting.
You're cordially invited. I like both of them, so I was like, whatever. I'll check it out. I can put it on in the background as it is intended for me to just have it on. The problem is that the movie is not very fun because it just does like tired old jokes about like, oh, look at the Gen Z kids, they can't do anything right, or like, oh, look at this old white man, he doesn't understand his kids, and look at these Southern people, they are being Southern, right? So like, so it's like
So it's R-rated.
I mean, there was a few moments where like I couldn't help but to laugh because like Will Ferrell was pretty funny. But yeah, it's not a very good movie. So yeah, don't. I mean, if you
Is that a Netflixer?
watch something else. What's
I
that?
think it's Amazon, isn't it?
Is it
It's on
Amazon?
Amazon. It's on Amazon Prime. And what I didn't get to watch, but I want to, and probably watch today, is the new Michael Keaton movie that just dropped on Max, where like he has a daughter who's all grown up, and then he has kids from a second marriage, and his current wife goes into rehab, so now he's got to be a dad, and his daughter's like, well, you were never a dad for me. So like, I don't know, it feels like a family drama, seems interesting. I like Michael Keaton.
Asshole redemption film.
Yeah, from Mr. Mom to Mr. Dad.
Go watch Mr. Mom 10 times better.
Yeah, I'll watch that first and then watch this other. Maybe
There you
like
go. Yeah, compare them.
like a
Watch
long
Birdman.
sequel.
It's gonna get weird when he holds his adult daughter up over the hand dryer, but I'll be here for it.
Other than that, I didn't watch much other than my regular shows. Matlock is back, so we're back, baby. Kathy Bates still killing
Is
it.
this going to become a Matlock podcast?
I'm not caught up, but it will be once I get caught up.
God, it's just a lot of fun. Kathy Bates just killing it, like weekly.
She's great at it. There's like a little kid that I get really, and they've kind of. I'm still in. I don't know. I'm still pre-hiatus, but that little kid is so annoying. Her granddaughter or grandson rather.
Well,
who's like the tech wizard part of the show, the component of the show.
You might be annoying too if opiates killed your mother, Jeff.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
So.
Wow, that took a turn I wasn't expecting. I clearly haven't seen the new Matlock.
Everything. This show hits all 4 quadrants.
Yeah.
Wow. Never define those quadrants for me. I really don't want to know now.
All right, but that's all I watched. Not much. Well, I'll have more when we talk about comics. So, Clay, let's go to you. You got some stuff that you actually watched.
Yeah, the SNL music documentary is amazing. Just the history of all the musicians that performed. But
that's cool.
You got to watch the opening part because Questlove mixes all the bands that performed over time through there. And there's one point I was like, because they had REM, and I was like, oh, they mixed someone with REM, and I was like, I got to tell Josh now. I can't remember who they mixed it with.
Oh
but,
wow!
But like the opening is just a mix of those songs through the decades, and it is so damn good.
That's awesome.
It's and then they go into the history of like when like Steve Forbes hosted Rage Against the Machine was the band that performed, and at the time they wanted to hang the flag upside down, the distress flag, and they played the audio of the people yelling, pull those off the stage right now. And they said that they had one huge PA guy, a union PA guy, come over there and pull it off right before they performed. Like there are really cool stories like that of things that they were doing. And like the Elvis Costello, when he stops performing and chooses a song different than he was supposed to. And there was the rumor that he had been banned from SNL. Lauren comes on and goes, we've never banned anyone from SNL. Like they had John Belushi was the reason they had punk music on. SNL was the first people to have a rap music on television at the time. There's just really great stories. And the mix at the beginning is probably the best thing in the entire documentary. I loved it.
Do they touch on the Ashley Simpson debacle?
Yes, there were two people they asked to be on the documentary that chose not to be: Ashley Simpson and Lana Del Rey. They talk about it, and they talk about the reason, like her being sick that week and why they had to go with a lip sync, and that when they go to her second song, they're playing music from the first song, and that's why the whole band is like looking around like, this is the music we're supposed to be playing. And then they play the audio of the control room trying to figure it out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the behind the scenes, because they're like, do we just go to commercial? Like they're really lost. So
somebody go, cut to the jig. The
live aspect is the cool stuff that you get the behind the scenes for. They tell the story of Sinead O'Connor, and they do it with a lot of respect because of the abuse that she grew up with and why she had that protest when she did.
When she tore up the Pope's picture.
Which was really, it was scandalous at the time.
It was
really scandalous. Yeah,
it was. But then if you think about it, like that was, the Washington Post did that. The movie Spotlight is about, the church's abuses during that time where they were just moving priests around because they were abusing children.
Yeah.
And so it was happening. They just hadn't reported on it. And she was right. I mean, that was some evil shit that was happening. And she was ahead of the game, and everyone wanted to be, on the side of the church, which was pure evil. And
if you've seen Conclave, those people are.
That's next on our list.
Yeah, like Voldemort runs the church, isn't it? And then Fire Aid LA. Did any of you guys watch the live? Please go watch one performance, if any. Joni Mitchell.
Ooh.
She's like in a throne. She sits in a chair and sings, and it is just so beautiful. Like it is the most moving song that's played during the whole time. And that includes a Nirvana reunion that happens with 4 different female singers, including Dave Grohl's daughter, who gets up there and sings.
Wow.
So there's just, and it's really weird. I felt really old because I'm like, Green Day comes out and performs. I'm like, well, yeah. And you hear the crowd and it's really good. And for the second song, Billie Eilish comes out. The crowd is larger and louder. And I'm like, I know I'm out of touch. I know who she is. But like hearing that audience go insane is really cool. I was just like, okay, well, Green Day's good.
You guys didn't, you guys didn't cheer like that for Green Day?
Yeah.
But
wait till U2 comes out here.
The problem is they had to Google Green Day first, and then they're like, oh, okay.
Oh,
I guess this means
that band that did that song that was in like every NBC show in like the late 90s. Yeah, right. Okay.
That's what Google comes up with on the first search.
Yeah, I mean, they
had
so many performers, and it was just so great to see. Stephen Stills came out. like just there was a point where the Red Hot Chili Peppers play Under the Bridge, and you think this is the perfect point to kind of end the show, and then it just keeps going. There's just more and more to it. So incredible performances. Billy Crystal opens the show with a speech about like, you know, he lived there, losing his family, and yeah, there's like a lot of celebrities who live there, but there are a lot of just normal families. And there's a story of a kid, he's a 10-year-old blind kid named Grayson. And I cried. I may cry now. Who lost his home, lost everything. And he just goes, it's tough to remember your house when you're blind. And I'm going to have to learn that again.
Oh, God.
That got to me. Yeah. And he was he presented with his mom. He was up on stage. Dude was a natural, just a great kid. Awesome. And it was really great to see.
Nice.
Someone else go, because I'm trying to get it together.
All right, Josh.
Yeah, boy, what a hard act to follow. I don't have much. I didn't pick up my comics this week. But just of a few things. I was reminded when Clay brought up the SNL music documentary. I just finished reading Peter Ames Carlin's new book on REM. Really, really good. Really good. Yeah. If you're an REM fan, I highly recommend reading it. It's the first book I'm aware of that actually goes through to the end of the band, right? I've read other books that had come out earlier when the band was still together. So this is the first one that kind of gives you a complete picture of it.
When you open the book, does it start playing "Losing My Religion"?
Yeah,
like the greeting cards.
Right. And I actually did the audio book, so it was I didn't really pick up that was like what happened when you open the cover, but yeah.
Nice.
I did also, because my wife wanted to see it. We watched the premiere of Watson.
Yeah, that looked interesting. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I like the core concept, right? Which is let's take the way that Sherlock modernized Sherlock Holmes, but instead focus on just Watson running a clinic. First off, I'm kind of really tired of just the formulaic approach to all these shows, right? Yeah. You have to have the protagonist, you have to have the team has to have this type of character. You know, I'm tired of the formula, and I don't even watch these shows and I know the formula, right? Like that tells you how it's almost become meta formulaic to a certain degree. And this show really structures itself around that formula, so that kind of bugged me. And I really wanted to like the main actor, but I just felt like it was very just emotionless. And the thing is, Watson isn't Holmes. Holmes is the emotionless one. Watson is the emotional core. So it felt weird to structure him that way. And then I don't want to do any spoilers, but there is a reveal at the end of the premiere episode for a major character. And I like the actor, but I felt like it was wildly miscast. And I'm curious, because I know Danny knows what I'm talking about.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, fuck. All right. Well, then I'm not spoiling anything, but watch it and then tell me what you think about that casting.
So I will say, if you want some medical shows, you can watch Doc on Fox, the network show. I think that's pretty good. And also The Pit.
I keep hearing The Pit is great. My buddy Mike just keeps saying it's
freaking good.
But I watched ER when it first came out, and I'm kind of like, I don't need to. ER turned me from someone who had absolutely no problem watching like blood or like needles to someone I can't handle it anymore. Like if I get blood drawn, I got to look away. Like I can't handle seeing.
So I will say this one is like everything they couldn't show you on network TV on ER.
Boy,
you'll see it there. But the story is so good, and the premise is like we're just going through their shift hour by hour, so it's like almost real time, not real time exactly, but I want to take a guess because I don't think I'll watch this Watson show. So whenever Sherlock came on CBS, the big
Which I
twist
believe it's
was
by
that-
the same.
Yeah, the big twist was that Moriarty was the reveal, but it was a different. I think it was Emily Dormer maybe being the. I don't know. It was some actors that we know, and it was the fact that Sherlock and Moriarty had a romantic relationship
Hmm.
before. So I'm wondering if it's something like that for Watson. So you could just say yes or no, but
I mean, there is a reveal of a major character that right from the opening scene, they kind of recreate the Reichenbach Falls. The key difference is that Watson, in trying to help Sherlock, also falls into the water and gets a head injury. So he has some like slight amnesia. But yeah, there is. So I mean, if you want to know the reveal at the end, I'll tell you.
Gregory House.
I'm going to take one stab at it.
Okay.
It's that Watson, actually, the human Watson, actually uses the IBM version of Watson to help him solve cases.
Yeah, they just wheeled it out at the end. Yeah, exactly.
The whole thing is actually just an ad for IBM.
Yes, and he goes on Jeopardy, so it takes a big spin.
And Watson also has IBS. Which you can't treat, physician, heal thyself.
This is the future of television. It's IBM, IBS, like because we got to get our drug ads in as well.
Yep,
so
yep, absolutely. And every time he's talking about IBS, he slows down like in an ad for a medication.
Yeah, when they used to do live ads on like those old TV shows where they just stop and turn. Right. They're just like, Watson, what's wrong? It's like Truman Showy kind of sort of where they're just like
they all dance and sing Ozempic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Jeff, do you want to take us to your stuff?
I watched Nosferatu this week. That's the only thing I really had time to watch. So.
Yes, basically.
I watched some wrestling. What is it? Royal Rumble is today at 5:00 Central Time. So for all of you wrestling heads out there, that's a big thing. It is today, right? Did I just make that up? The Royal Rumble? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to jump straight to comics. We got Ice Cream Man issue. What is this? 42, 43, issue 43. Each one of these is a single page horror story in this very specific issue. But we've got all of it is the art is still by Martin Barrazo, but we've got stories in here by W. Maxwell Prince, Grant Morrison, Matt Fraction, Kelly Sue DeConnick, Jeff Johns, Denise Camp, Zoe Thorogood, Patton Oswalt, Jeff Lemire, Frank Barbary, Good Old Neon, and what did I say? I already said Grant Morrison. Yeah, so all those people contribute one-page stories to this issue. Zoe Thorogood, his page is about her brother's passing, which is very sad.
Oh wow!
Yeah, she does all the artwork in that one. She gives her own page for that.
Wow.
Very great issue of Ice Cream Man. No, Ice Cream Man is not something I normally get month to month, but I've gotten the last 2 issues, so I don't know.
I think I think they list Grant Morrison's name twice because you have to verbally say it twice for his spell to work. So,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
And now that if I say it again, he's going to pop up behind me.
Right, your curtain's going to move.
Yeah, I'm here. I also picked up this. This is Superman Lex Luthor, the Lex Luthor special.
Yeah.
If you've not been following along, Lex Luthor has amnesia. Lex in the City. I have that. I've not read it yet.
Oh, okay.
Lex Luthor has had amnesia since Brainiac, the big Brainiac crossover. It's been a few months. House of Brainiac. And they, in order to try to figure out what's going on with the absolute universe, because that's still out there, like the heroes of our universe understand that there's a split universe out there that is the absolute universe. And Mr. Terrific needs old Lex Luthor's help because Lex Luthor, little devious mind, and Mr. Terrific just is too good. He can't corrupt his mind enough to get to those evil portions of the brain that Lex Luthor can. So the whole comic is about should Lex Luthor try to rediscover evil Lex Luthor? Current nice Lex Luthor try to remember the stuff that evil Lex Luthor does, potentially reverting himself back to evil Lex Luthor. I would have preferred, and it does kind of seem like at the end, maybe he's, remembering stuff. I would have preferred more amnesic Lex Luthor before we get to evil Lex Luthor again, but we'll see where it goes.
I mean,
they leave it kind of open-ended, so
he's been amnesic for 2 or 3 arcs now, I think. Because
but I feel like they haven't really.
You see him in
focused in.
Superman, and you see him in the Action Comics sometimes.
Yeah, but I feel like it's not really been super focused. Like he's kind of still a background character where they just kind of pop it up every now and again.
So the Doomsday thing should wrap up in the next 2 issues of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll see. Yeah. Oh, Josh left too.
Yeah, it's just us.
Nobody wants to talk about comics, I guess.
Sorry, I know, and this is sad because I was just about to bring up Josh's favorite Fantastic Four from last week, number 28. I can't speak highly enough. Josh knows this about the current Fantastic Four run with Ryan North. This is definitely a lead into the all the Doom stuff, the Emperor Doom, not Emperor Doom. What are they calling it? New World Under Doom.
One Nation Under Doom.
One Nation Under Doom. Again, Ryan North writing a super fantastic story that involves time travel and the old switcheroo. I just didn't. Fantastic Four, great book.
How does Digby feel about Dr. Doom?
Well, since Digby's blind and deaf, he has no opinion.
Okay. Fair enough, Digby.
What do you say, Diggle?
Yeah.
Bow before Doom.
All right. Yeah, I read a bunch of comics. I know. Sorry, I had to take a phone call, and I hate doing that during the show. But I also picked Ice Cream Man 43. It was great just to see all the talent, and the idea of doing a 1-page story is just so much fun. Like there's just
the baby shoe story made me laugh,
dude.
So much.
Oh my god! I mean, look, I'll tell you this. Like, I know there's a lot happening, so maybe this is not the book you want to read at the time.
Oh,
but I think 42 went harder on that, but it's still like really interesting, and like there's a lot of really scary stuff, and there's some very poignant stuff because in this one, like Zoe Thorogood's brother took his own life recently, and she kind of made a story about that and dealing with trauma, and the issue itself is dedicated to James. So there's a lot of stuff in this one. So maybe don't read all of it at once if you don't want to. Just kind of go through some stories. What else? I picked up and read TMNT number 6. The boys are back in New York, but New York is not the same that the boys remember. So I'm really enjoying this. Juan Ferreira, the main artist, is now on this, like because they had 5 guest artists for the first 5 issues.
Wow.
So yeah, now we're getting into the crux of it. I also read and made a video for Silverhawks number 1. Do you guys remember Silverhawks?
Yeah.
They're back, baby.
They're bringing all the toys back because in the Micronauts getting a reboot.
Dynamite is just trying to find everything they have access to. So I mean, it's really cool. Like when you see some of the characters, immediately like remember like this guy. You guys remember this guy, right? Monstar or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Like the villain. Like I don't remember a lot of the cartoon, but I remember the visuals. So
is there not a chromium cover or something for that?
Is there? And I'm sure there is. I picked up just the Jay Lee cover. I didn't see anything, but I'm sure there. I mean, Dynamite loves their shiny covers. I did pick up my epithets. Finally came into my shop.
That's a good
you all had it last week. What else did I read? I picked this up. I haven't read it. It's called Pinapocalypse. I don't know. It seemed it's from Massive, and I don't know what it's about, but it feels like it's like this pinup lady type of character, and there's about to be like maybe an apocalypse. I don't know. We'll see. I haven't read it, so I'll keep you guys informed on that. What else? It was supposed to be a slow week, and then I ended up having all these books. These are just the rest of the things I picked up, but I haven't read. Ultimate X-Men, this Storm Life Dream one shot. I think this is a one shot.
Yeah.
The Moon Knight. and I picked up my X-Men, which I'm behind on, but I need to catch up because I think there's an event coming. But one of the best things I read this week, The Seasons #1. This is the new book from Rick Remender and Paula Saceta. It's really, really cool. Like, there's some kind of weird circus type of thing coming into these cities and destroying them, and it's up to the Season sisters to prevent that from happening. And this issue is really, really cool. Big fan of Rick Remender and the giant generator stuff that he's doing over there. And Paula Saceta's art, I mean, it's very cool. Here, let me show you. Shall we show you here?
Oh, that's cool.
There's a lot happening on the page. So, but yeah, it's very cool. The last thing I read it digitally. It's called The Displaced. This is a new book. Not a new book. It's an old book from Boom Studios by Ed Brisson. And the reason I read it is because we may or may not be talking to Ed Brisson in the future. We'll see. Because he's got
that was kind of my choice too.
He's got a new. Well, I mean, look, we got an email from Dynamite, and it had a few names, and I was like,
great names. I wanted to say all of them.
Yes, and Brisson's doing this Silverhawks book as well. But I think they want to promote the Thundercat Lost. Let me bring Josh back in. So yeah, hopefully we can get that set up and we can get Ed Brisson on the show. I think that'd be really fun to talk to him because he's done a lot of really cool stuff. He's doing a bunch of the what are they called, the Ghost Rider stuff. That's pretty much. Oh my god, you guys need to stop rotating around. This cast. Making the show very hard to produce. I need you guys to stop leaving.
Sorry.
You know what? I'm gonna buy adult diapers for everyone. We'll just call it a business expense. And then and Star Wars, some Star Wars stuff. A New Legacy. 10 years. Star Wars has been at Marvel for 10 years.
That's crazy.
That was insane.
I didn't realize it was that long.
That's crazy. So this is their 10-year anniversary issue for Star Wars at Marvel. And then I picked up the last issue of Galactus with Spider-Man. So now I picked up a couple more things, and one of them is Jeff's fault, but I'll show you guys the other one first. You may have seen it if you follow me on socials. And I'll do a full video on this.
Ooh, what is that?
This is the Absolute Mr. Miracle.
Oh wow!
By Tom King and Mitch Gerards.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I love the. This is like the slipcover, I guess, and I don't know, I'll make a full video to look at it. But man, oh man, I pre-ordered it from my shop, and it's nice because they give me a discount when you pick it up, so it's not as big of a hit. It's still a hit, but you know. The other thing, because I couldn't let Jeff.
Because
when I saw Jeff, I was like, I want one. Why did I get one? So
I miss having money.
Yeah, I know. I really want that because that's the time period of comics in America that I just love. But the money I would have spent on a style guide, I put instead to the Kickstarter for the reprinting of the 1980s and 90s DC role-playing game. So I'm getting a lot of that art in there anyway, so it's fine. It's a trade-off.
It's really interesting. The introduction to that book talks about how prior to them coming up with the style guide, they just had nothing. It was just like the Wild West in licensing and stuff, and they were just like, I don't know, here's just take whatever you want from the comics, go for it. This kind of thing is how they used to do it. And then they finally were like, no, we gotta. And from that point forward, they really like drove licensing, because nobody did licensing really before that. So, or it was just like a hodgepodge of like things that got licensed, but this was the first time that anybody had put together a book of like, this is the art that we want you to use. This is how, you color them. This is how they really, for the first time ever, did something like that.
And it seems like that book is only available through specialty shops, right? I can't find it online to buy.
Yeah, I ordered it through. I remember seeing it come up through, I guess, whoever the publisher was, their website, and then I just ordered it through my local comic shop just to give them the business,
Yeah.
Yeah, same. I know Titan has it because I saw they had a copy. But I ordered this through Sanctuary because usually when I order stuff through them, since I'm a subscriber, I get a discount on the final price tag.
Yeah,
which is nice when you're buying these books. So
how much is it retail? Like,
I think what is 95, Jeff? Do you remember?
oh, I think his audio went out.
Hello.
Jeff, you there?
Hello, Jeff?
Uh-oh.
You muted? I think you're muted, Jeff, or your audio's not working. Your microphone.
Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
There you go.
All right. I was just about to leave you guys a note being like, I'll be right back again.
Yeah, you guys really need to stop dropping from the show randomly.
If I don't get Digby, he'll end up on the tile in there and scream, and I'll have to run in there anyway.
No.
All right. All right. Does anybody have anything else that you watched, read, did, whatever before we close out the show?
No.
I did. It's funny. I did just get a notification about Robert Eggers talking about Tim Burton's Batman Returns, like how it influenced the look and feel of Nosferatu. So that's really funny.
Yeah, he said that on that Josh. I can't remember his name. Josh something podcast.
I'm right here, man. Oh.
Yeah, it was on your podcast, Josh. Josh Horowitz. That's his name.
yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. To close out the show, we're gonna watch a new trailer from Paramount Movies.
Oh no!
This is a film starring Bill Skarsgård and Sir Anthony Hopkins. It's called Lock. I know, Clay. I had that same look. So let's see what this is all about. Let me know if you guys can hear this.
I just want to introduce you to a little taste of hell.
It's Eddie. Could you spot me some cash? Oh. Yeah, I'm having a rough day too. There you go.
It's a Transformer.
My name is William. I'm the owner of this car.
What do you want?
Thou shalt not steal. That's not complicated, is it?
Did you just tase me?
I want you to experience the consequences of your actions.
Get me out! 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 Oh, help me! Ah!
Oh wow!
I have your attention now. I've invested a lot of time and money into this project. The walls are bulletproof. I've also jammed the cellular.
This is Cybertruck, the movie.
What's your plan? Let me die.
Let you die? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Wouldn't want to ruin all the fun, would I?
Just tell me what you want.
I just want to introduce you to a little taste of hell.
Stop, don't do this! Here, is this what you want?
I want justice.
You're done. I said I'm done!
Hello, Eddie. You're in my car.
All right.
I'm in.
That is not at all what I expected from a movie called Locked. Holy
So
So it's
apparently,
about the rich torturing the poor. That's
I'm in. Yeah, you should have
I
gotten
mean,
that car.
it's the first like 15 minutes of Beast Wars, the Transformers Beast Wars movie.
I just like this. This film has single-handedly invented a new genre called the locked car mystery. So
I just
that's a
don't.
joke for no one.
I just unless there's some sort of twist where Anthony Hopkins gets his at the end, I still feel like if I wanted to watch the rich torture the poor, I'd watch the news.
Hey, that Bill Skarsgård doing his best Pete Davidson.
He does look like Pete Davidson.
He should not have just gotten in the car,
Yeah.
Not his car. All
You know,
right.
Clay, you can do both. You can watch the movie and the news and feel doubly freaked out.
Yeah.
What if he had just gotten in the car and just started like just shitting all over the back seat? He's like, no, get out of my car! Like,
Oh God, why they put cameras everywhere?
Oh no, God, stop it!
Well,
like,
what happens to poop if you taste it?
I mean, these are all questions that hopefully the movie answers.
I'm just hoping that a lot of the torture scene is him just playing Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch and he's having to sit and listen to it for hours.
It's really funny that he Anthony Hopkins is like, I'm gonna show you hell, and then he starts playing like a polka or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would not want to be that artist that he chose to use my song to represent hell. That was just pretty neat, especially the way it was cut in this trailer. So I don't know. I'll probably watch this at some point. I don't know. I haven't seen his other movie where he's like this. I think he's in what's his name? The Kid or something? Where
Boy Kills World.
Yeah, Boy Kills World. I still haven't seen that.
I watched that. That's fun.
Maybe I'll watch that in the lead up to this.
Yeah, the story's when you get to the end, you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But it's all the violence you're there for. That's the fun.
I like H. John Benjamin narrating my stories.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, he's the voice.
Bob's.
He's like the inner dialogue of the kid or something, right?
Yeah, he's explaining things while it's going on, and it adds another level of comedy to it.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. That's our show. We talked about Nosferatu. I think on the next one, we are at the date. Yesterday was the deadline for our draft show.
Yes.
We'll finally get some final numbers.
Send me the list and I'll put it together because I don't know who picked what. That's the only thing that I'm missing.
Okay. Yeah, I should be able to share that with you.
Mine is a list on Letterboxd, if that helps, Clay. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll share.
I'll send the Excel document to Clay.
Oh, yeah.
We can use that. But yeah, I'm interested to see how everything played out because we came right down to the wire with some of the movies.
And the winner gets their own studio to make movies.
That's right.
Woo-wee.
And then I think we'll probably wait to do the draft till end of February, which is gonna suck because that's gonna mean that Captain America is not gonna be part of that. But
yeah,
we'll still have other Marvel movies and stuff to play with.
Yeah, but they're so far behind. Remember when they were putting out Happy Meal toys for this movie?
Oh yeah! Oh my god!
Awkward.
And then, hopefully in the future we can get a couple of creator interviews. There's that I'm currently emailing for sure. But the first one, hopefully Ed Brisson. So, to the people on the screen, go read your Ed Brisson story so we can talk to him about that.
Awesome.
Right. Well, that movie certainly felt like a movie, so I'm glad we talked about it.
I wish I could. The only reason I wish we could use AI to make movies would be to put actors like that in those films to see what would it have been like to have this person play this role,
like a little alternate cut.
Yeah.
It'd
be like a movie that's like a movie that you see in the theater, a movie.
All right. Well, great. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the Royal Rumble this week. I'm very excited for it. So we'll talk to you later. Bye.
The most important thing in life will always be
El Bebo.
Twitter loves you.
Simon Center, get the fuck out.